Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're stepping into the world of agile teams,
Yeah.
going beyond all the buzzwords and really trying to understand a crucial role, the Disciplined Agile Scrum Master, or DASM for short.
Yeah, it's a role that people often misunderstand. They think it's just about facilitating meetings. But as we'll see, their impact goes way beyond that.
Right. It's definitely more than timekeeping. In fact, our sources use this phrase, routine checkboxes, to describe how some view those agile ceremonies. Like the daily stand-ups or sprint reviews. A good DSM makes sure those are anything but routine.
Exactly. A skilled DSM guides the team to be self-sufficient. It's more about coaching, mentoring, empowering the team to own the process.
So less about barking orders, more about clearing a path so the team can sprint to the finish line.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Say a team gets stuck because they're dependent on another team to finish something. A DSM wouldn't just swoop in and solve the problem for them.
Right.
They might help the team communicate their needs booker, maybe negotiate some deadlines, or even explore totally different solutions.
So it's all about making sure the team can find their own solutions, not becoming overly reliant on the DSM as a crutch. Makes sense?
Right.
Like that saying, give a man a fish.
Right.
You feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish.
There you go.
You feed him for a lifetime. Okay, so we're talking about clearing paths. What about the product owner? You've got this team working hard, but they need direction.
Absolutely. If the team doesn't have a shared understanding of the goals, then nothing else matters. And that's where the DSM is so key. They're that bridge between what the product owner envisions and how the team actually executes on it.
It's like making sure everyone's rowing in the same direction.
Eh.
And our sources talk about how a DSM helps the team understand the why behind the work, which I can see how that would be so motivating.
It's huge. When a team really gets that why, how what they're doing contributes to the bigger picture, it's no longer just mundane tasks. They're coding a feature, yeah, but that feature is part of a product that solves a real problem for real people.
Yeah, if you get the why, then the how is so much easier to figure out, right?
Exactly. And that's a big part of what a DASM brings to the table. And it's not just about the team either. A DASM can really influence the entire organization, especially when it comes to actually using agile methodologies.
So almost like an agile evangelist. But instead of preaching, they're guiding the whole company toward a more agile way of working.
That's a great way to put it. Think about a company that's trying to transition to agile for the first time. It's not always smooth, right?
Sure.
There's going to be pushback, people confused about roles, maybe even some folks who are totally skeptical.
Yeah.
A DASM can really help smooth that all out.
How so?
Well, they can provide training, facilitate workshops, really advocate for agile at all levels of the company.
Right, so it's not just telling people to change, it's giving them the tools and support to actually do it.
Exactly. And a big part of that is managing expectations. Our sources really emphasize the DASM's role in risk management, especially when it comes to what stakeholders are expecting.
So no more promising the moon and delivering a space rock.
Exactly. Let's say a stakeholder thinks a really complex feature can be done in an unrealistic time frame. A good DASM, they know the team's velocity, their capacity, they can step in and say, hold on. They can use data to show what's actually possible, get everyone on the same page. It prevents so many problems down the line.
It's got to be so valuable to avoid those miscommunications. Setting realistic expectations from the start saves a lot of headaches.
Tell me about it. And that's a real skill, being able to bridge that gap between different stakeholders, translating technical jargon into something everyone understands. It's a hallmark of a great DASM. But it's not just about ticking boxes or following a rigid set of rules.
Right, it's not about blindly following a checklist. It's got to be about cultivating a certain kind of culture.
Well, got it. What's really interesting about the DSM is their ability to foster a culture of continuous improvement.
Okay, so what does that look like in action?
So it's about creating a space where teams are encouraged to learn from everything, the wins, the losses, all of it. For example, maybe after every sprint, the DSM facilitates a retrospective. The team can reflect what went well, what could be better, how can we tweak our process for next time.
So it's like a feedback loop, constantly iterating and improving as you go.
You got it. And that focus on continuous improvement, on always learning and adapting, it's contagious. It spreads out from the team to the whole organization.
So the DSM's impact, it's like a ripple effect, right? Starting with the team, but then ultimately shaping how the whole organization works.
Exactly. And that's why having a really great DSM can be a game changer for companies that are trying to be more agile. Because it's not just about Implementing a framework, it's about cultivating a whole culture, collaboration, improvement, adaptability, all of that.
Well, you've been with us on this deep dive into the world of DASM, and I gotta say, it's really changed how I think about this role. It's so much more than just, like you said, running
Yeah,
meetings.
oh, absolutely. They're coaches, mentors, problem solvers, agents of change, all wrapped up into one. And for me, the most fascinating thing is how they bridge that gap between like the big vision and the everyday reality of actually getting work done.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, if there's one big thing that our listeners could take away from this, something they could apply to their own work, what would it be?
For me, it all comes back to that idea of continuous improvement that we were talking about. It's a question we should all be asking ourselves individually and as teams.
Right.
How can we be better? How can we learn and adapt? And how do we build that mindset into the DNA of our organizations?
That's a good point to end on. And remember, everyone, it's a deep dive. It's just the beginning. Our sources are full of even more insights about the disciplined Agile Scrum Master. So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those Agile wheels turning.